Hello, and I'm live on Facebook. Welcome, Earth Wizards, to this Facebook Live. My name is Max Zoulek. I'm a Access Consciousness certified facilitator. So grateful that I am, and continue to make that choice. It's one of the things that I love most in my life, to be able to be a part of this change, this difference, this possibility that exists. As for me, it's like in the 20 plus years that I've been seeking and checking out all the different things, this is the most exciting possibility for me. There's some loud sounds coming out on my computer. Let me close that. This is the most exciting possibility for change on this planet that I have found, and I have been looking, trust me. So I'm super excited to be here with you guys, and today's topic as well, which is being in communion with your gift. This topic and being a gift, like how many of you guys have discovered this exists, like that you actually are a gift, and struggled with this concept? At least for me, this started as a concept, being a gift. It was like, this is a great idea. This is fantastic. I love this. And then I was like, what the fuck is being a gift? Like, first I was looking at everybody else and, oh, I can see the gift in them. I can see the gift in this person. I can see the gift that that person is. And that's amazing. How the fuck am I a gift? I had no clue. And now I'm starting to get a clue. So I don't have a total clue yet. And I don't know as humanoids if we ever do have a total clue of our gift that we be. But I'm starting to. So that's real progress. And I'd love to chat to you guys about that today. One of the areas that I have developed this, it's so weird. Like when we ask a question, when we ask for something, like, what is it? What is me being a gift? What is that? When you ask that question, it starts showing up in different ways. And the weirdest ways. For me, one example is doing video work. And if you've seen some Access Consciousness videos or some of Shannon O'Hara's videos, who's my wife, I make all of her videos, and I make some of Access Consciousness's videos. And I started this 10 years ago, pretty much when I started being an Access facilitator. I made a bars video on the beach on the Sunshine Coast of Australia. And I got some incredible feedback for it. And when I didn't make any videos at all for at least 6 to 10 months. And this is a real illustration of this being a gift. People were acknowledging that I was a gift. And I was like, fuck that. No more of that. I had to reject it. So we all reject the gift that we be in some way or another. And the real skill is recognizing when you are rejecting the contribution from other people and when they do receive you. Because we can be in this comfortable rut of not being received, which feels and is a particular way. And you only have to receive so much, which is very little. And when you start receiving from others, when others start receiving you, which is a gift to you, you have to be willing to receive more, and you have to be willing to be more. And I wasn't willing to do that, be that, have that at that time. So I rejected it. I stopped making videos, and then my history of creating videos has been an interesting one and continues to be. When I did start to make videos again, I often interacted with people in a way during that process that would create rejection. How did I do that? If I was making a video for somebody, I would be very slow, and they'd have to ask for it, and then I'd still be like, yeah, I'll get it done. And then eventually I would like get the video done and send it to them. And Shannon has struggled with this with me for years. She's not here at the moment. She's coming shortly, but she could attest to that. And it's been a contention point in our relationship. And I know now that the primary element of that is me not willing to be the gift. And being that gift in this particular area for me actually it takes a lot of work. Not because, but in this area of creating videos, fundamentally is a lot of work. And I wasn't willing to apply myself to that degree where I had to go beyond my limitations of what I was willing to be, what I was willing to receive, and have that show up as greater and actually have people receive that, right? So this is one area that it shows up. I wonder what that is for you. What areas do you guys look for rejection? Where do you consider yourself the most wrong? And everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all, times God zillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. As a famous man, Gary Douglas, once said, maybe it was Dane, I don't know, one of those wonderful guys, your greatest wrongness, whatever you think is your greatest wrongness, is actually your greatest strongness. Okay? Now, what did I do with videos? I thought, I'm shit at videos. I am no good at videos. I can't do this. For years and years. And I would like ebb and flow with this. And it was this interesting thing of where I created it as a wrongness so I wouldn't have to be greater and receive more in that gift that I be. That's changed to a large degree, but it hasn't fully changed. It's still in progress. So in what area do you be a gift that you're either trying to be wrong, making it? There's some wrongness about you in this particular area, right? So everything this is, can we destroy and uncreate it, times God zillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. And would you be willing to have something different now, no matter what it takes? And this is going to be the weird, and this is what Dane calls the meandering path of consciousness. Like you don't know how it's going to show up. It's the choice that comes first, and then you will discover. And then you'll probably look back in 6 months' time and go, wow, this has changed completely. But it's probably difficult to pinpoint what the difference was or what that change point was. And it's also not relevant. If you're looking at what you desire to create in your life and in the world into the future, it's much easier to make these sort of choices, okay? Now, if you're at the point where mostly you just want to die because everything sucks and you don't get where you're a gift at all and everything's just difficult and heavy, that's okay as well. That's basically where I started Access about 10 or 11 years ago. When I heard the tool of heavy and light, I was like, what's light? All I know is heavy. Because everything in my life was basically heavy. I wasn't really willing to have and make that choice for lightness in my life at that point, let alone recognize that I was a gift. So after some time, I recognized, it took me a little while to recognize that I just don't, it's a great idea, this thing of heavy and light, but I have no idea what lightness was. So I started asking, okay, what actually is lightness for me? And then I'd get these tiny little glimmers, and then it'd be gone. I'd be like, oh, that was real lightness. Wow, well, that was like real joy. It was a tiny little glimmer, and then it was gone for weeks. I'd be like, oh, okay, is this ever going to work? Is this ever going to be different? And I have a little drama thing going on. And then it would show up again, another little glimmer, and another little glimmer. And then it would be a little bit longer than a glimmer. And it would become more and more. As I chose more, I continued to choose amidst a whole lot of not believing that possibilities exist, but it's not about believing. It's like not trusting myself, consciousness, and possibilities that I could actually have something different. But bit by bit, it was showing up as something different. And let's fast forward to 10, 11 years to now. And the choices that are available are really different. Now, actually, the choice is available to be like, okay, where am I a gift? Universe, please show me, where am I actually a gift that I'm not willing to acknowledge or recognize or get yet? Okay, so everywhere you guys are looking for an answer in this, that somehow being the gift will be an answer in your life and create a particular result. Like finally, you'll be recognized as right. You will succeed in this reality, or you will finally have all the money you want because now you recognize the gift you are. Everything that is, all the conclusions, will you destroy and uncreate all of them times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and puck, all nine, shorts boys, perverts and beyonds. Being in communion with your gift is never about coming to conclusion, which is actually impossible. Because as soon as you come to conclusion about it, it's no longer about the gift you be. So being in communion is this continuous question and choice. Every 10 seconds, you can make a different choice. Even if you made a shit choice 10 seconds ago of where you wanted to give up, where you wanted to quit, where you judged yourself, in this 10 seconds, what choice could you make that will allow a different possibility to show up? And that's a real key in this being in communion with your gift into the future and creating something different. Okay? There is no rightness and there is no conclusion that will ever get you there. I tried for long enough, even while I thought I was using the tools of access. And then there was points in those last 10 years where either Shannon or Gary or Dane or another facilitator would say, or just like drop this little thing of this particular tool. Interesting point of view is one of these, which has been huge for me. And I've been like, oh wow, yes, okay. I know about this tool. I thought I was using it beforehand, but when they mentioned it again, it was like this whole other universe. So then I applied it in this whole other way. And one of those recent ones was interesting point of view. And I think it was even in a class or a telecall that Gary did, and he mentioned interesting point of view. And he said how for 12 months, for every feeling, thought, and emotion that he had, this was many years ago, he used interesting point of view, and he was changed forever after that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to doing this for 6 months. Now, I admit I haven't done it with every feeling, thought, and emotion. However, that commitment that I made, which is around 4 months ago now, or maybe 5 months ago, actually, I applied it to every negative point of view that I was aware of and every positive point of view. So even when I thought I did something amazing and everything was going really well and it was so great, even then I would use interesting point of view. Okay, interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view. And what I noticed when I used it for the positive judgments, quote unquote, is that how do I put this? This is interesting. I'm actually, as I'm talking about it, I'm kind of dissecting it. Well, it didn't allow me to go to positive judgment, essentially, which I was very prone to in the past, because when something went right for me in my life that I judged as right, positive judgment, then all I could do is sort of like climb this judgment trail and then fall off it again. And same with negative judgment. Oh, this is horrible. This is terrible. I'm never going to achieve this. I'm not going to, blah, 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 blah. It's the same thing. You're climbing the judgment trail, and at some stage, you have to fall off it if you desire to have more consciousness. If you want to have like more contraction in your life, you can keep going in that way, but it still ends up in tears in the end. So where it really helped me is where I was doing positive judgment, because I wasn't really willing to recognize the judgment that it was then. And this actually allowed me to get more of the gift that I was and the gifts that I had and have in my life. So what if you guys used like whatever tool pings you the most? Because for me, it's like there's specific tools, and for you, it might be different tools that you've come across in Access that are like, wow, yes, and that keep coming back to you. What if you used those specific tools, or you made a commitment to use them for a day, a week, a month, 6 months, or a year? You're like, okay, every time these thoughts, feelings, and emotions come up, I'm going to use this tool in a way that I've never used it before. I'm going to actually use this tool. And what could actually show up for you? Cool. And everything that doesn't allow that, let's destroy and uncreate all of that. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, perverts, and beyonds. Cool. I want to tell you guys another little story about discovering a gift I had no idea about beforehand. And this was like, actually like 12 to 6 months ago. I was facilitating a Talk to the Entities business hours class. And this is a class for people that have done the Talk to Entities beginning class. And then the business hours is when you get to work on those Talk to the Entities tools, say it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day or every few days, to use the tools to process the entities, rather than being clogged up with all of the awareness of that and sort of suffering instead of dealing with the awareness. And I asked everyone to expand out in all directions and lower their walls and barriers. And as I did that, I noticed this thing that I've noticed so often when I look to bring down my walls and barriers, of this like really like a metal plate at the front of my head here. Okay, so I always thought there was a barrier, which was true to a degree, but not enough to change it. And when I looked at that and actually I asked, okay, is this actually a capacity? This is why we're doing the business hours. It like completely changed and opened up. And I recognized that this was actually a capacity that I wasn't willing to have, a gift that I have of sight that I have been shutting down for as long as I can remember in this lifetime. Now, growing up, constantly, it was always this thing of secrets. You're not supposed to see this. You're not supposed to see that. Very violent psychological things from particularly one of my parents about, no, you cannot see this lie that I'm living, right? Everything's fine, everything's great, everything's positive judgment, but you cannot see this lie that I'm living and perpetrating and da-da-da. So I had to shut down this site. I didn't have to, that was a choice I made at the time. Cute, not bright. And that's just what I chose at the time. I literally shut down my site, this gift that I have, to please somebody else. And probably in all honesty, to like survive in that situation. And I loved my parents. I wanted to like heal them. I wanted to do like all the stuff that we as humanoids commit ourselves to. So literally just like 6 months ago, I realized that this was a degree of sight that I wasn't willing to have. And since then, I've been able to, with that awareness and that acknowledgement, I've been able to have something completely different, have this gift be completely different, rather than it was like always this curse, essentially, of like this huge block in my head. So everywhere where you guys have made your gifts into the curse that you have to live with, will you destroy and uncreate all of that times Godzillion? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, pobads, and beyonds. I'm going to wash that down with a little bit of water. Cool. Notice how this is like a similar thing to everything you've made a wrongness is actually a strongness. Noticing a similar theme. So where have you shut yourself down? Where have you made yourself wrong? Where you're actually capable and strong. And everything this is where you destroy and uncreate that times God tell you. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pockle. 9 shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. So next time you notice something, like when you're relaxing, and you notice something either in your body, in your head, in the universe, and you either judge it as wrong or you judge it as right. What if you saw it as an interesting point of view? Okay, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And ask a question. So what is this actually? There's this really cool thing that Dane, I'm going to say, came up with at one stage, or he spoke about it. And I might bastardize this a little bit. It's like, if I did not know this, if I didn't know this to be true, basically, what would I know? So if this, whatever you thought was true about this particular thing wasn't, what could it actually be? And everything that is destroyed and uncreated all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. So what is this? Is the next question after interesting point of view. What is this actually? If this wasn't wrong, if this wasn't right, what could this actually be? And relax more. And that awareness, I guarantee you, will come. It might not come immediately. It might not even come the same day or the same week or the same month. But if you keep being in that question, you will receive the awareness that you're looking for. You may not necessarily like that awareness because you may be prone to rejecting the gift you are and the gifts that you have. But that's a different choice. Okay? You can make that choice as well to have and be the gift that you are. Cool. I'm seeing a comment here too from somebody. For me, interested point of view, they have this point of view. Very valid point. I spend very little time around other people, mostly with Shannon. So, and that's by design, because people are fucking difficult. And yesterday I went out, we're in England at the moment, and I went out for a couple of hours by myself in the car, and I went to like the supermarket, I went to a few other places like in town, and I was shocked by the insanity. I went to the barber as well. There's a bunch of people there. I was shocked by the insanity that like existed. And by the end of it, by the end of just a few hours, 2-3 hours of being around that, I was like, holy shit. Like I had to really work on myself to get myself back to have like the space and the ease and the peace that normally exists in my universe. And so this thing of interesting point of view, they have this point of view is super relevant. And I do apply that a lot of the time. So if you're around a lot of people, please use that interesting point of view. They have this point of view. When you notice that there's like some solidity, some rightness, some wrongness, some judgment, there's always such an array of points of views. However, I also want to point you towards recognizing when you have a point of view somewhere, a rightness or a wrongness. Any fixation, anything that's fixed is a point of view. Like energy is malleable, it moves constantly, it's never stagnant, it's never fixed. And when it does, disease occurs. If you have a body of water that sits still for too long and gets stagnant, it's like starts to rot and stink, right? It's the same thing with your points of views. If you have a point of view that sits stagnant for too long and isn't allowed to air out and move and change and be fluid, it fucking stinks. So, interesting point of view. I have this point of view is a great way to air out those points of views and do your internal laundry, essentially. So yeah, just depends how clean and light and you would like your universe to be. And this does not mean you're not going to be aware and be aware of some shit. Okay, so recognize when you're aware, which is basically all the time, because your awareness is a gift as well. Your awareness is like one of your greatest gifts. It's one of the greatest gifts you be. Cool. So thank you guys so much for tuning in for this Facebook Live, and thank you so much for being on this Earth Wizards Facebook group. I love how many people are actually on this. There is 51,500 members on the Earth Wizards Facebook group. That's awesome. That is so cool. Because when you're here on this group, like, you actually desire a different possibility. You don't necessarily know how that's going to show up. Like, none of us know how that will show up. But knowing there's a possibility and recognizing that your choice is like the most powerful element in this possibility for all of us. Your choice. Like, the more you choose, the greater you choose, the more you recognize you can't choose wrong and you can't choose right, the greater this is for all of us and the planet. So I'm so grateful that you guys are here, part of this difference and change. Yesterday was the biggest Global Access Bars Day to date so far. And the Access Consciousness website actually shut down because so many people were tuning in to this different possibility. That makes me enthusiastic for the future, the fact that you guys are here. So thank you. How does it get better? And I look forward to seeing you somewhere live or online very soon. Take care, everybody. Thank you.